Welcome everyone to today's webinar about Codebeamer Export Suite. My name is László Katona. I've worked with Nanga Systems as a senior consultant, and I'll be your host and presenter today. And I will show you this new tool that we've developed to enable you to create consistent and customized Codebeamer reports. Let's dive right into it. This is our agenda for the day. We will start with the solution overview. Then we will dive into the solution in the form of a live demo, and we will finish the webinar with a Q&A. So I would like to ask you if you have any questions during the webinar. Feel free to use the Zoom functions and add your questions to the question list. Reporting in Codebeamer, as Codebeamer users you might know, can be sometimes a challenge. It's a universal need across various industries where it's not enough to have the data live inside of Codebeamer, but you might get to a point where you will have to create a specification or reports for your suppliers, reports to your customer, or create a documentation for regulatory submission. The challenge in Codebeamer when it comes to the out-of-the-box functionality that the rules are set. We use merge fields and bookmarks, as you might know. The functionality of these, of course, cannot be customized, and we have to learn the framework, learn the workarounds. Unfortunately, sometimes the merge fields and bookmarks are error prone, and that's actually not Codebeamer's fault. It's something that comes from Word and how Word builds the underlying XML code for the Word documents. Another important thing that might affect you is the support of PDF-A documents. PDF-A is basically a format that helps you with long-term storage. Also, in case of larger exports or larger report that contains larger data set, you might run into this before, that Codebeamer generates huge files, sometimes larger than 100 or even 200 megabytes large files. The problem with this is that even Word struggles to open these files sometimes. And because of this, you might have to break up your data set. For example, a test run, test documentation into multiple parts in order to create smaller reports. And of course, you need to create formal and company branded reports, and this might be time consuming, especially in the beginning. This is a time these challenges might lead to higher costs when it comes to creating the templates, finalizing the exports, and sometimes the collaboration might suffer because of this, whether if it's internal or external stakeholders, we might run into some difficulties. The solution that we propose is the Nanga Codebeamer Export Suite, NCES. With this tool, we are aiming to put an end to these limitations. NCES or the Nanga Codebeamer Export Suite is an external service module. It's a containerized solution running in Docker. outside of Codebeamer that integrates seamlessly into Codebeamer, into the Codebeamer graphical user interface, and it handles the entire export process on a separate instance. Your documents are going to be created with the help of Expose Word templates, and they are available in various export formats, including the well-known formats supported out of the box by Codebeamer, plus PDFA. What are the key benefits of using the Nanga Codebeamer export suite? I already mentioned this, that we support, in addition to the standard Word document, PDF, and Excel document formats, we support the PDFA-1A standard, which is basically enabling you to store these exported documents long term. We also support, of course, template-based report generation. As I've mentioned, we are using the Expose Word syntax. This is a very well documented syntax, actually. You can look this up online, look up the full documentation, but of course, we provide a user guide how to use, to explain how to use the templates, how to create your templates to work with them effectively, and how to create your Codebeamer reports. The tool leverages Codebeamer's out-of-the-box available external widget functionality. With the help of this, we integrate the solution into the Codebeamer graphical user interface seamlessly. On one hand, because it's an external widget, you can use the tool as a dashboard widget in Codebeamer. We will see how it integrates with the document view and how it integrates on the item level, how we can use the tool for exporting individual work items. I already mentioned that this is an external service, so we are not using any Codebeamer resources to create the reports, to generate the reports. The solution is a containerized application. All you need is Docker to bring it online. And after, basically, you just have to configure in Codebeamer the external widget. And once it's done, you will be able to connect the two tools together, basically integrate the export solution into the Codebeamer graphical user interface. You can run it on a separate server, or you can even run it on the server that hosts Codebeamer. The system requirements are minimal for the tool, and we try to make it as fast as reliable as possible. It's completely asynchronous, so you won't face any performance issues, not with the tool and not with Codebeamer. The templates are highly customizable. This means that using the Expose Word syntax, you can address more complex challenges when it comes to report generation. We are going to take a look into a few of those in the live demo. But just to give you an example, how we will be able to seamlessly integrate, for example, risk diagrams into a risk management document without having to create two separate exports from Codebeamer. We can easily create reports that mix the standard summary and description export with the table creation for certain work items. So while for certain work items you can just export summary, description, and any standard attribute. For other work items, you will be able, for example, to create and export them into a continuous table in your Word report or PDF report. And of course, we support view-based filtering, which is important. So you can exclude certain work items from your data set to make sure that the right information goes into the final report. For example, you can filter out those work items that are not accepted yet, or you can tag certain items for internal use only, while the rest of the document can be added to a report where the audience of the report is external. How it works? It's just a high-level architectural overview. The templates are stored directly in Codebeamer. It works very similar actually to how the standard Codebeamer templates work. We use the documents module, very important, not the document type tracker, to store the templates, where we have our own folder structure where we can add the generic templates and where we can add the tracker specific templates. The widget is embedded in the Codebeamer graphical user interface, either as a dashboard widget or as a document view widget. We will see how it looks like. And of course, we'll be able to use it on the item level as well, for example, to export test runs. And last but not least, this is a backend service. So we connect the tool to Codebeamer using the external widget functionality, which is available out of the box. It's just a matter of configuration, minimal configuration on the Codebeamer side in the application configuration for your system administrator. And on the backend side, all you need is Docker to bring the solution online. And of course, the necessary network requirements, they have to be met in order for the two systems to communicate with each other. But basically, after that, all we do is connect to Codebeamer via the REST and Swagger APIs to obtain the data from Codebeamer, build the report outside of Codebeamer, which is very important because, again, we are not using the Codebeamer resources. And then in the end, you will get your report downloaded in your browser, just like in case any other Codebeamer exports. So this covers the presentation part of the webinar, and we will dive into the live demonstration using Codebeamer. So I've prepared a dedicated project for this purpose. It is called NCES Webinar Nanga Codebeamer Export Suite. After opening our project, naturally we will find ourselves on the project wiki. As I've mentioned, the solution can be used as a widget. You can see it here. So I've created a dashboard where I have the widget added to the dashboard directly. We could use this widget on the My Start page because that's just our personal wiki with dashboards and wiki pages. So there you can use it as well. And of course, in the Tracker browser, in the Tracker browser dashboard, we can also use the widget. We talked about the UI integration which does not stop here. If you open any of the trackers which have a document view, we will see that in addition to the three tabs that, for example, we normally have in case of a requirement type tracker, we have a fourth tab, which is the Advanced Export Solutions tab. Selecting one work item will activate the widget, and we will see what are the report types that we can generate: document, Word document, PDF, PDF-A-A, or an Excel document. Beneath that, we can select any of the views that we have access to in this tracker. So you can see we have some of we have the default views displayed, and I've created a view as preparation for the webinar called Accepted Items, which is also visible. But in case so this is completely optional. If we do not select a view, basically we will, the scope of the report is the entire tracker, and we just have to select a template. So let's start with the simple template. We just have to give a few moments for the service to create our report. And once that's done, Codebeamer will download our document immediately, or we will download our document immediately in our browser. And this is how our document looks like. So we have, we tried to recreate some of the out-of-the-box available basic Codebeamer templates. This is one of those, a simple template which exports the project name. It has the headers and footers that we've defined. It exports the the tracker name, and scrolling down, it will show us basically the document content, which is built based on the tracker content, the tracker hierarchy. What you can see that we don't really have extra line breaks. We don't have for empty descriptions, for example, the introduction item doesn't have a description in Codebeamer. Normally we will see two dashes exported instead of an empty description. We don't have that here. And as we are scrolling down, we will see the rest of the document with, of course, the formatted text. So that's what we can see here for in case of regulatory and quality. This is the formatted text that we see in Codebeamer. Just have to switch back to the complete overview. And in addition to the summary and description, in this particular template, we export the upstream and downstream references as well. In those cases where we do not have a downstream or upstream reference, of course, we don't export the table that was configured for the template. So this is how our basic export looks like. But how is this report generated? How does the template look like? So as you can see, so this is the actual template, our simple template that we've created for this presentation. It's a very simple template, and the usage of the template, the template, or how we create the template is rather simple, despite the fact that we are not using loops and merge or bookmarks and merge fields as we do in Codebeamer. Instead, we use the expose syntax. At first glance, it might seem more complex, but in reality, it is not, because it's a very well documented syntax, and in case, so we don't have to worry about incorrectly placed bookmarks or anything like that. So we initialize the context of the export by starting our template with this simple with these variables, and then we will get access to the tracker and item attributes, for example, the project name, the tracker name, and where the important things are happening is this part where basically we build our heading structure for ourselves. This is going to be important later, and you will see that we do not take over simply the hierarchy in Codebeamer. One example for this is what I've mentioned, how the content of the tracker can be tagged, for example, with internal and or external flags or tags. Some of the work items will be excluded from the export, of course. So we just want to make sure that we build the right structure for the export. So this is what's happening in this section. Then we just declare the remainder of the methods, how we export the description. There you can choose if you want to export it as HTML. I would recommend that because in that case we can make sure that we use the font types and font sizes what we define in the template. So you can standardize the report format completely. And if you want to export it with the wiki formatting, that's also possible without the HTML tag. But as I mentioned, HTML export is recommended. We do take care of the conversion on the fly, so you don't have to worry about that. And basically, we keep all of the formatting in the export. So your final report will look like exactly how it looks in Codebeamer, but at the same time, it will look like how your company documentation would if it would have been created manually. Then we have the upstream and downstream references section. These are just two almost identical tables, as you can see, ID and summary, and we just define for each loops to go through all of the upstream or downstream references. So this is a pretty simple example. Let's take a look into another example. This might be a use case that you've been struggling a lot in the past. Let's create a requirement export based on the requirement template. In this export, what we will see is that the documents introductory part, the introduction, purpose, scope, definitions, and so on, they are typically exported as normal chapters or paragraphs. So we export the summary and then we export the description. But in many cases, and what we've seen is that the expectation would be, or the current way of working in documents is that the actual requirements are added to a table in Word. Unfortunately, so far we were not able to address this use case, but with the Codebeamer export suite, using the Expose Word syntax, we can easily address this without having to configure basically anything in Codebeamer. So let's see how our export looks like. It's the same tracker. We are just using a different template. So instead of having the cover page, we dive right into the content. We export the content of the system requirements. Then in this case, I applied different heading formats. So it's a numbered list basically. And as we are scrolling down, we see exactly the same work items as before, except as we get to the requirements part. So requirements is a folder, and the children in this folder are the actual requirements. They are all tagged with the type requirement, as you can see here on the right hand side. And we were able to add everything inside of the same table, very important, into the same table as a continuous table. If my table is configured correctly, then of course on the next page we will continue again with the table header. I just forgot to apply that setting in Word. You can see the ID, the name, and the description. This template is also, I would say, rather simple. So we do exactly the same thing as we did before. We declare how our hierarchy should look like, how the document hierarchy should look like, and then we just create a condition to export the requirement type items differently. And in this case, we just define the table, how it should look like. We can easily add any of the attributes as a new column, and really we don't need to configure anything in Codebeamer. We just need to have a common ground for these items. We don't have to necessarily rely on the type itself. We can use other attributes for the condition to be defined. I also mentioned the other export formats. So we have PDF and PDF-A. So let's create a PDF document using the same template. That doesn't take too long either, and we get the same exact format, of course. What's interesting is the Excel export. We can define Excel templates. It's also in a docx format, but don't let that fool. I mean, you could actually use these templates for document or Word document or PDF exports as well. But we can use these for Excel exports. Let's see a simple Excel template, how the export looks like. Again, we just have to wait a few moments till the service returns the final report. And here you can see the content of our export. And what I wanted to highlight, and for this, maybe I need to zoom in a little bit. So column C is our description. And as you can see, we keep the formatting. So instead of exporting, and this is why the HTML tag is actually important in the template definition, especially for the Excel exports. Instead of exporting the underlying markup code that we have inside of Codebeamer, what you would see normally in a Codebeamer Excel export, we export the HTML converted text, and that means that we keep the formatting. So we keep the bold text, for example, the italic text, and we keep the colors. It's not a problem to create Excel exports using the Nanga Codebeamer export suites template mechanism either. This template is practically the same as, or looks practically the same as a normal Codebeamer template. we define the column headers, and we define the what fields do we want to export for each row. There is another way to use the Excel export. So if we have a different approach to how we export work items, it's a very similar concept if you think about it, like we have in Codebeamer, where we have the item cards defined for the word export in form of loops. So in this case, what we do is we create these or recreate these item cards in Excel. So it's not the standard row after row after row export, but we repeat this section for each work item. And instead of putting this into Word, we can put this output into an Excel report as well, including any of the attributes and upstream and downstream references. For example, this is what I've configured for this export template. We talked a lot about templates, and I've mentioned where they are stored. So going back to Codebeamer and opening the document module, we will see that instead of in the .codebeamer folder, we store our templates in the documents modules root. We create a template folder. The template folder contains directly the generic templates. So the Excel template, the Excel template simple, and the simple template, these could be used anywhere in any of the trackers. But we can also create subfolders with the tracker types, basically. And whatever templates we store in these folders, those are going to be specific for the tracker types. Our requirement folder, for example, houses the requirement template. The risk folder contains the risk template, and the test case folder and the test run folder, they contain the tracker specific templates as well. So if we go, for example, to the risk analysis and evaluation tracker, which is a risk type tracker, and we use this tracker in the medical software engineering template for risk management purposes. What we will see if we switch to the document view, that we can see the generic templates, of course, and in addition to those, we can use here the risk template. The specialty of the risk template is that we not only export the direct tracker content, but we also export the risk matrix as well. So we have the normal, so to say, normal parts of our risk management document: purpose and scope, definition, references. Basically, we describe the whole risk management process and how it's done at our company. Then we have a basically placeholder for the risk matrix. It doesn't actually contain anything, as you can see here. And following this, we have our risk register with the actual risk work items that we work with. Based on the captured severity and probability values, and based on our company specific configuration, of course, these are going to be placed into the risk matrix diagram in Codebeamer. Normally, to create a document that contains both the tracker content and the risk matrix, you would have to export the tracker content, and here in the risk matrix diagram, export the risk matrix separately. In case of our document, the risk matrix item is configured to trigger the generation of the risk matrix. So it's not actually the risk matrix from Codebeamer. We build our risk matrix inside of the report, which means that you can apply your own formats. So if you don't like the look and feel of the Codebeamer out of the box risk matrix export, you can just set up here your own, basically the risk matrix visualization that you are used to, what your company currently does. And then our risk register, very similar use case as in case of the requirements. Instead, we would like at the end, in case of risk management process, we would like to have a combined document with nice document structure where the risk go into a table format. So that's something that we can easily do with the Nanga Codebeamer export suite. Of course, we covered so far only the left-hand side of the V plus the risk management, which is kind of in the middle in a V model. But the test management part is also important. So on one hand, we support fully, of course, the report generation for test cases. Again, here we can create our test case specific report templates and use them to export these. And of course, we can create a report for the actual test execution results using the test runs. And this actually helps me to show how, again, the tool integrates with the Codebeamer graphical user interface. So instead of having to open the widget itself and the dashboard and open the widget, you can just open your test run item, and the only thing you have to do is, instead of selecting the three dots and click on export to Office, you click on details, select the item export tab, and in this case all you can do, as you can see, is select the template. We are excluding now the tracker selector. We don't care about views because the scope of the export is this particular work item. And of course, it's children because we are talking about the test run. And how our export will look like, we specifically try to recreate the standard export format. So you can see here, if you've seen the default export template for the Codebeamer test run export, then you will be familiar with how it looks like. So we have the project, the tracker, then we have the high-level details of the test run. So this is the parent test runs attributes with the statistics. And then because we have a parameterized test capability in Codebeamer, we could have an overview on or high-level details, including the parameters, and then we can dive into the details of the test run. So with the different test steps, expected results and actual results, and of course the passed, failed, blocked, not applicable results in the right-hand side. Similar to the standard Codebeamer test run export, this can be also configured, or this template can be also configured, so you can include additional columns for the test step results, or you can exclude those attributes, for example, from this section that you do not actually need. Some other notes, artifact links, and how they are converted into bookmarks in a Word export. Those are supported in the NCES solution as well. Auto generation of table of contents for PDF documents is supported out in the NCES solution as well. And but actually that's supported in the NCES solution, so you don't have to worry about a table of contents in your PDF documents. And of course, our roadmap doesn't stop here. So on our roadmap, we are going to extend further the functionality. We are planning to enable to store reports directly in a document type tracker, so you don't have to worry about manual steps, downloading and uploading a document, and then you will be able to create a final report if you would like to use this template solution to basically cover the entire document management process that we support typically in Codebeamer. So that pretty much covers the live demo part. And now it's time for your questions. Let's see. Questions. First question, is this reporting add-on then able to completely replace the native Codebeamer reporting function? Uh, yes. So at this point, I can say yes. We can replace the out-of-the-box Codebeamer reporting function. Of course, as I've mentioned, our roadmap, there is a roadmap ahead of us. For example, the export of multiple trackers or creating a report from multiple trackers, that's on our roadmap for now. Creating traceability exports, that's gonna be something that we would like to uh, fine tune for the tool, because we ran into some very complex traceability report use cases in the past that we would have been able to address with the standard functionality, but we basically just crashed Codebeamer because we heavily used the resources. So yes, right now I would say it really depends on your current templates and how you use the Codebeamer report generator out of the box available report or export functions. But in my opinion, you could replace Codebeamer reporting functions with the NCES tool. Uh, Images in Excel. Let me get back to you on that one, because since we are exporting the content in an HTML format, we should probably be able to include images, but I do have to confirm that with our development team. So I will get back to you on that one. Are the reports dynamic? How is it possible to see the date stamp? Which date is the report related? Does the template respects the sync permissions set in Codebeamer? Of course. So let me answer the last question first. So we fully respect the Codebeamer permissions. Basically, the solution uses the user session the user itself to generate the reports through the API. And that's very important because through the API, of course, we are not able and we should not be able to bypass permissions. We do use a technical user. That's just a slight technical background, but that user is only necessary for the MetaML image generation, because found an issue which is currently not addressed, and this is the workaround that we are currently using. But we are using for the content generation, we are using the user itself who triggers the export, so the permissions are of course respected. And all of the timestamps can be included, so that's not a problem at all. I'm not 100% sure what do you mean by reports are dynamic, to be honest. But if you can elaborate on that, I will try to answer them. Is it possible to create interactive reports with this integration? If you mean that we have a kind of drag and drop report builder, then unfortunately the answer is no. We still rely on a template language and the template syntax, which is, I would say, more static, basically as is not as static as the Codebeamer templates because we have a lot more wiggle room and a lot more flexibility. Then it's less static than an interactive report builder. Is there any performance concerns in running a report on a large number of contents, 1,000 plus requirements? Actually, no. We tried that already with multiple. Basically, we tested it for a large number of work items, and we didn't. I mean, of course, the creation of the report will take longer than it takes for this demo data set. But we were not able to observe any performance issues. Of course, in Codebeamer, none, because the resources are not used from the Codebeamer perspective for the report building, and we did not see any issues with the report generator either. So we did use a very minimalistic configuration compared to a normal Codebeamer instance, especially. And even with large number of work items, we were able to easily create the reports without any issues and hiccups. Uh, is it possible to set permissions visibility rules on which templates are available to who? That's something I have to get back to you on. As far as I know, that's something that we are working on, and maybe it's already possible simply with the help of the permissions of the documents module, because as I've mentioned, we are using the user itself to get the content. I need to test that. 100% honesty, I need to test that. I will get back to you on that one. Are there any other questions? No, it seems that was the ah. Uh, in case you are interested in the add-on, uh, you please reach out to us at any of our contact possibilities. Let's say reach out to us via email, or reach out to me, or reach out to your account manager, and we will be able to discuss the pricing, because it's not fixed price. It's based on the usage basically, and the add-on is already available. So we can start the discussion about the deployment, even whether if it's hosted by Nanga Systems or if it's going to be hosted by you on-prem. So that's something where we can already start the discussion about both of the topics. Just reach out to us, to me, to your account manager, and we will follow up on the topic with you. Okay. So, as I mentioned, there are two questions. I need to get back to you on. One of them is the images in the Excel exports, and the other one is the visibility of the or permissions for the visibility of the templates. I will get back to you on that one in a day or two at maximum. And if you are interested in the add-on, just reach out to us. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. Especially if you have some specific use cases, let's take a look into those together and let's see what we can do to help you address those. I would like to thank you for your attention today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see each other in the next one. Thank you.